Today we're going to take a look at the differences between this Karearea Talon frame and this Realacc Real1 frame. Real 1. Not real one. Real number 1. The Talon frame is a stretched X. From the front to back it's about 170 millimeters and side to side is about 140 millimeters. The Real 1 frame is a straight X frame, at least this one is. There's a new one that was just released that's actually a stretched. But this one is 160 millimeters from motor to motor, front to back, left to right. From the bottom, these look very similar, other than this one being stretched. But this one is actually a little bit more narrow. It's about 38 millimeters wide, whereas this one's about 41 square. And this one's a little bit longer, lengthways, probably about 47 millimeters. The arms between these frames are pretty similar. I'll take some arms off here in just a second. We'll do a little comparison. But the biggest difference that most people will notice is the way that this top part looks. And this one, like it's cracked. It sure is cracked. Okay, well, this is a Talon frame. It has this little hook back here in the back. It's kind of pointy up here in the front, and then has the places up here for your run cam, the mountain, and also have your swivel area. Now this one has a little baby hook back here in the back, and then up here in the front it has the part sticks up here to help protect the camera, and the camera is mounted up a little bit higher, but it does have the rotating thing up here in the front, so you can rotate a little bit, and it also gives you the degree that your camera is pitched. So it's a little bit different than the original one from the Talon frame. So here are some of the carbon fiber pieces off of each quad. On the left side is the Talon, followed by the Real 1, Talon, Real 1, Talon, Real 1, Talon, Real 1. So on here you can see immediately that these are a little bit different lengths, and that's just because this is a stretched X, whereas the Real 1 is using a full standard X. So, but on here, one of the big differences between this is this one's about 5 millimeters wide and about 2.5 thick, whereas the Talon one is about 4 wide and 3 thick. So this one being a little bit thinner like that, it does have a tendency to break, which is why this one has tape on it, because it actually broke. But rather than replace it, just put a little tape on it and then it's fine. So yeah, that one, this does have a little tendency to break just because of how skinny it is. Now another difference here between these two, here's the top plate. The one on the right is off the Real 1, the one on the left is the Talon. You can see they're a little bit different, and you know, they didn't do an exact copy, and the holes for the grooves don't even line up correctly, so you can't pull one off of one and put it on the other one. Now these are the arms here. The Real 1 here has the hole put in there. I'm not really sure why they did that, but let's see if these holes line up. I think they look like they matched up real close. Yeah, they match up pretty close. So you might be able to use the arms off of this. Well, the only difference would be that the Talon ones are a little bit shorter than the Realacc ones. Let me get these lined back up. There we go. It's a little bit shorter than the Talon ones. Or the Talon ones are a little bit shorter than the Realacc ones. Also, the carbon fiber looks a little bit finer in the Talon than it does in the Realacc one. So you have a little bit more weaves going in this, so it might be a little bit stronger because of that. Up here, let's see if the grooves are actually the same size. No, they're not quite exactly the same. You can see the Talon one is a little bit shorter than the Realacc one. So arms aren't too much different, but they are different sizes. So you can't replace just the arm with the competitor's arm, because your metal thing that holds the motors on probably won't fit. The most noticeable difference between these two frames has got to be this top piece. This is from the Talon. This is actually available for a short stack and also for a taller one in case you want to stack up more stuff, whereas the Realacc one only comes with just the one piece. And you can see here how much different they are. Now, does this qualify the frame as being a clone or a copy? Well, I think it makes it more of a clone, more of it strongly inspired by, I guess is probably the better word, because these guys did not do a good job cloning this at all, if that was their intention. Now the rest of the frame, I mean, the parts are very similar looking. The entire bottom of the frame is very similar looking, but they try to make it at least a little bit different here and not copy the entire thing, which, you know, you got to appreciate that at least. Just to see if it fit, I took one of the Talon arms and I tried to put it onto the Real 1 frame, and it doesn't quite match up correctly. The spacing on the original arms must be a little bit wider because they're not going to screw together like they should. Another thing I noticed about this is that these have the beveled edge, whereas the original arms do not have the beveled edge, and they are nice and sharp. Also, these have a solid piece through here. There's no holes, whereas on the Real 1 arms, there are holes through here. And again, I think these are probably just here, I guess. They put them here to hold your wires with a zip tie instead of having to wrap electrical tape around it, I guess, which in this case you just have to use something like tape. Or I guess you could use a zip tie, just be kind of floppy on there, holding the wires. The original arms fit perfectly on this frame, so yeah, it's kind of disappointing. I thought you'd be able to pull these arms off and use them on a Talon and get yourself some cheap arms. Well, I guess you still could. It's just that you're going to end up with doing a little bit of modifying here, and also your motor mount's going to be a little bit small for this area here. So this is the motor mount for the Real 1, and this is the Talon arm, and you can see here that the Talon has a lot shorter piece in between there. That could have some advantages, like, you know, less material, I guess. But it does slide on here okay, but again, it just can't slide down into that groove because it's just not big enough. So, like I said, you won't be able to use the arms between the two different frames unless you do some modifying on them, a little bit of drilling. So this is the brace for the Talon frame, and it actually lines up perfectly on the Real 1 frame up here on the motor, which it should, because they're nearly the same. But down here on this end, you know, they're not anywhere near right because this is from a stretched X, whereas this is a regular X. So if we do some quick measurements on here, this overall piece here is about 33 millimeters, and these arms are about 4 millimeters wide, and this top piece here is about 1.8, and on this one, I believe the cabin here is about the same width. This is about 33, yeah, 33. And the arm here, if I can find a place where there's not any wire, here we go. This arm here is about 4.5 millimeters wide. Let's see if I can get it any smaller. No, 4.5 is about right. 4.5 millimeters wide. And this top plate here is about 1.9. So the top plates are about the same. These arms are a little bit wider on this frame, which also might explain why they didn't fit very well in the other frame. Well, that's some of the differences between these frames, the Talon and the Real 1. Now, which one should you buy? I always tell people, buy the original. Buy the original frame, support the original designers so that they come up with new and better ideas for next time. If you don't have any money to support them, because this is a pretty expensive frame, then this isn't a bad alternative. Although, like I said, I always tell people, buy the original just to keep the industry growing and developing further. Anyway, if you have any questions about these two frames or want me to try to measure anything, let me know down in the comments. I will try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.